Hello everyone. So, up. So first, I will explain you the clouds, what the concept of the cloud, and how the architecture is defined in order to use this cloud for the infrastructure and all the components in the data center, and we configure to have the platform available. So. Okay, so this is all the level of a cloud. So we have first the software as a service. We know, everyone know it. It's the application we can find on the internet, on the public cloud. We know Google Drive, we know Office 365 is the kind of software as a service. In order to be available, they need a platform as a service. So this is an operating system with a component like Java, like Python, in order to make this software available and can be massively scalable by deploying a platform. And the last one is the infrastructure as a service, is all the hardware. So this is we do with in the data center. So we have to configure all the computing, memory, RAM, storage, and orchestrate all of this physical infrastructure. Sorry. So sorry. So we use all of these parts. So the software is used by the end users. So when you connect on the internet, you can access to the application like Google Drive, Google Documents. At the platform, this is the developer that can deploy platform and configure all the components to make the software available on the internet. So. And the last one is the infrastructure, as I said. So this is the infrastructure and network architects that configure all the physical components to support all this platform. So first, we need a component to orchestrate all the deployment of the physical infrastructure and make it available with a dashboard. So. All the developers can deploy massively scalable servers and configure all the software at the high level. So we compare two open source infrastructure orchestrator. Sorry. So first one, OpenNebula, has the advantage of being simple, open, reliable, and flexible. So we can configure and every time add new components into this YAS. And OpenStack is known because it was developed by Rackspace and NASA, and this advantage to have a big communities and to be developed by modules, so everyone can integrate new modules and add components. So many levels of components. So I would describe in details all of the both platform. So OpenNebula, the first one, as I said, can provide public, hybrid, and private cloud. So you can deploy structure to your own IT, your own data center or on infrastructure, and make it available on the internet. So all your data is saved in your own infrastructure. The second one, the hybrid cloud, allow you to mix private and public by connecting to known cloud provider like Amazon, like Azure, like OCCI. This is different components that we can connect and make in order to allow us to make our servers deploy in the Amazon or Azure cloud. So this connects your platform with all the public cloud. And the last one is just to make the API. So there is API that you can connect other platforms with other providers, and that make it a connection between your private cloud and the private cloud of another company. So you can have two platforms connected with API. So this is the community of OpenNebula. So this is many downloads every day, so that you can see the numbers. And sorry, and this is so now I will explain the OpenStack function. So OpenStack working with three main components: the compute in order to make the hypervisors and deploy all your VMs, networking in order to reach all of your VM between them, and storage, because we know we need every time to have data growing, so we can attach new volumes on our VMs. So this is the three main components of OpenStack, and a dashboard in order to connect and manage all of this. And this is the OpenStack communities. So this is bigger than OpenNebula. So this advantage is OpenNebula have more biggest companies, and it's developed with projects. So it's the module connect to OpenStack. So Nova will manage the compute of the OpenStack platform. Neutron will manage the networking. Glance, Cinder, and Swift will manage the storage, and every time there is a module to manage a new component. So we have it that can manage the monitoring of OpenStack, and it's always a new module developed and attached to OpenStack in order to make it every time growing and used for with more modules. So in order to use this, we need a physical platform. So typically, this is the traditional infrastructure we have for this kind of deployment for the cloud. So we made 3 controllers at the top of the rack in order to have the OpenStack or OpenNebula or any IaaS orchestration. So this is free because we need high availability, redundancy, and load balancing. So this is for just have dashboard and all the IaaS solutions. Then we have 3 giga switch that will connect all our infrastructures. So we will need the biggest one to have to manage the storage, because storage will consume many bandwidths. So this is why we need the 10 giga switches. And we have the compute nodes that will contain all our VMs with the CPU, the RAM. So every time we'll need to have more VMs, we have to add new servers on both rack. And the last is the storage. So we have to add a storage like a NAS, like SAN, like DAS, in order to make storage growing up. So the advantage of this is, for large infrastructure, we can every time add new rack with the same architectures. Then we make we know the cost of each rack, and it's it will be more easier to manage large deployments. So we have the hyperconverged infrastructure. So the advantage of it is that we do not have storage and compute nodes separated. We want to just have to add new servers with internal disk and make all storage, compute, and networking and RAM deployable by just adding new servers. So the advantage is we can easily scale our infrastructure by just adding servers, and we can make it and we can manage our costs when just adding these servers by adding a new servers, always the some kind of servers with say, new disk, CPU, RAM every time. So we can complete all of our rack and manage our costs just by adding one kind of servers. Sorry. So in order to make this available, we need to know to define the different kind of storage we can make. So there is a block storage that can manage the physical disk. So sorry. So this is used with for computing. So the virtual servers will use the block storage, virtual machines, but the database, all the RAID, so all the block storage is used, as we know, as with serial numbers, with the serial blocks, sorry, algorithm that will make our volume growing up. The file storage, sorry, to manage the file sharing, the archiving, so it's hierarchical files and directory. And the object storage that can allow us to deploy the containers and to store the backups or web applications. All the storage that need less bandwidth and less IOPS, because object storage need a manager, so is more the block storage is speedier than the object storage, so this is why we need for virtual machines or servers. So there is two open source softwares that can we use in order to manage the storage. There is a Gluster for this infrastructure. There is Gluster and Ceph. So Gluster can allow us to attach all our physical disk between them in all of our servers and make all the storage every time growing up by just adding our servers. So the advantage is we can make a replication. Storage is distributed between each physical disk, and we can manage it like a RAID. So we have every time replication, distribution of the storage on all our storage, and every time we add a new storage, we make storage more speeder because the bandwidth will be separated in between each host. So when we distribute the storage, we make our IOPS better every time. Ceph allow to manage the free kind of storage, and is used in order to replicate also the storage, but use a manager. So we need more servers in order to have a kind of orchestrators that will distribute all the data between all physical disk, and will allow to make scalable the storage by only adding servers, and there is a dashboard in order to manage all the storage and see all our OSD is the data distributed on the storage. So I will show you for Gluster how is working. So Gluster is working as you create a volume, and the volume is distributed with all our servers and replicated. So when we write data on the node 1 on the disk 1, it will be replicated maybe on the servers 4 and on the server 6. So you can have 2, 3 replication. We can manage the replication, the copy we want, and we can create many volumes with many replication and distribute all our data as we want. So we can create a volume for 10 gigabyte, 10 terabyte or more, and just make a copy as we want, distributed by any. So the file 1 will be available by getting brick of data on maybe 4 servers. So if we lost one server, one disk, we always keep our data available. So this is the functionment of GlusterFS. And Ceph is working with a gateway. So there is there is a management gateway in order to manage the object storage, the block storage, or the file storage. And we're writing the data into the Radeos. The Radeos is the backend storage, the physical disk, and there is a gateway that will make available the data for the block storage or the object storage or every kind of storage we need. And there is an API in order to connect to this storage. So OpenStack works like this. There is a module that connects to the different gateway of Ceph and can access or write the data as needed. So Cinder will write and read into the Ceph block device, and Swift will work with the object storage, so it will work with the object gateway of Ceph. So okay, for the last one is the software-defined network. So we have the computes to deploy our VM. We have the storage. Now we need the network to manage our VMs. So there is I'll show you the Neutron, the module into OpenStack to manage the storage. So the advantage of it's a module integrated to OpenStack that can manage every network as a service. So we can do firewalling as a service. We can do the QoS. You can do the level 3. We can create virtual routers and connect BGP, connect a level 3, level 2 network. So we can just connect like a vSwitch all our VMs, or deploy a virtual routers connected with other infrastructures and managed by the OpenStack and Neutron modules. So there is OpenVSwitch. OpenVSwitch is an open source tool that can allow us to create vSwitch into a Linux distribution. So it works like VMware vSwitch, we know. So we can create a VLAN between each network and manage each vSwitch to connect our VMs and separate all our networks and manage it by creating access list into the OpenVSwitch and manage the flow. So we can see all the flow into each vSwitch and each port. It's really managed like a switch into the Linux distribution. And the last one is the VXLAN. So VXLAN is just a protocol, native protocol, that allows us to separate all our VMs between VLAN and allow us to make VLAN into VLAN. So the limit of the VLAN is 4096 VLAN, and we can do almost unlimited VLAN by using VXLAN, because we can do VLAN into VLAN, so we can separate our customers between each segmentation level. So there is a VLAN. We can have a customer with a VLAN, and it can have its own VLAN inside it. So, for example, we are a data center. Each customer will have a VLAN, and this VLAN is propagated into all server. And in between this VLAN, they will have another VLAN, or any VLAN that the customer wants inside it. So this is the advantage of VXLAN. So this for the questions.
J'ai une question par rapport au slide sur les baies types que vous approvisionnez, où tu expliques que vous êtes passé d'une architecture avec des SAN ou des NAS à quelque chose d'hyper convergé. Pourquoi ne pas hyper converger les contrôleurs également?
Pardon. je en français. Les contrôleurs en fait permettent de manager l'infrastructure qui est dessous. Donc on a vu tout à l'heure l'OpenStack, OpenNebula. En fait, c'est le socle d'accès à la plateforme. Donc, si on veut, c'est en termes d'optimisation, le point d'entrée va être la plateforme IaaS, donc les orchestrateurs OpenNebula, OpenStack. Donc, si jamais comment expliquer ça J'y arrivais. Par mesure d'uniformisation, on va plutôt mettre des contrôleurs en fait pour orchestrer nos serveurs dessous. En fait, simplement parce qu'on va manager les serveurs physiques qui sont dessous via ces trois serveurs, on va dire.
Oui, mais tu pourrais profiter de la redondance et de tout ce qu'apporte l'hyperconvergence pour avoir la partie contrôleur intégrée, comme dans certaines solutions qui ne sont pas open source, typiquement Nutanix ou des choses comme ça, où tu as tout qui est intégré et c'est vraiment... tu n'as plus que les nœuds hyperconvergés et du réseau pour un réseau data derrière, mais tu supprimes cette ségrégation encore, quoi. Est-ce que c'est pas une étape en plus pour l'open source de tendre vers ce modèle
Oui, alors après, on va dire que c'est toujours dans le sens de comment expliquer ça en fait, simplement, si on a une machine virtuelle qui va être sur un nœud qui contient l'orchestrateur, par exemple, le contrôleur, l'équivalent du contrôleur, mais en virtuel sur les serveurs compute. Si on doit faire une intervention de déplacement de la VM, on va dire, une migration, si on doit remplacer un nœud ou qu'on doit faire une option de migration à chaud, ça peut se faire via l'orchestrateur. Donc si l'orchestrateur est lui-même une machine sur ce nœud-là,
tout est redondé, tout est hautement available, donc
oui, tout à fait. Mais ce que je veux dire, c'est que la machine qui va orchestrer les serveurs dessous, en fait, c'est celle sur laquelle on va lancer les opérations. Donc, elle peut déplacer à chaud toutes les machines qui sont derrière, mais elle-même, si on la déplace à chaud qui a 2 secondes, on n'a pas la main. C'est faisable en termes d'infrastructure, mais on va dire qu'en termes de design d'infrastructure, on préfère toujours mettre les contrôleurs séparés de l'infrastructure elle-même. Pour des raisons de normalisation, en fait, en tout cas.
D'accord,
on préfère
merci.
Les séparer, quoi.
Ça continue autour du buffet, ça. Alors, est-ce qu'on a d'autres questions? Do you have additional questions? We have a brain full of information. Okay. Ah. Okay.
Et du coup, tu nous as présenté un large éventail de techno en termes de storage, en termes de networking, en termes de virtualisation.
Oui.
Et j'aurais aimé savoir, c'est le genre de choses que tu utilises de manière quotidienne. Enfin, tu es amené à utiliser toutes ces technos-là
Tout à fait.
au jour le jour. Vous n'avez pas fait un choix.
Alors, là, ce que j'ai présenté, effectivement, je ne les utilise pas en même temps. Hein. Quand je parle de Ceph, Gluster, on peut l'utiliser, mais je n'utilise pas les deux en parallèle. Je fais le choix. Moi, justement, j'ai présenté, on a fait 2 types d'infrastructures, et j'ai les 2 types d'infrastructures qui tournent à la fois une avec du Ceph, l'autre avec du Gluster. Donc, j'ai travaillé vraiment avec tous ces composants, et j'ai créé. On peut créer donc l'infrastructure avec chaque fois un seul des composants que j'ai présenté pour la partie réseau, un seul des composants que j'ai présenté pour la partie stockage. C'est un choix à faire. Moi, j'ai travaillé avec tous ces composants-là, mais c'est pour ça que j'essaie de présenter les avantages, qui est pas enfin les avantages et inconvénients de chacun, ce qui est pas évident parce qu'ils ont des similitudes, on va dire, mais en même temps, ils ont chacun leur petite spécificité qui va faire que sur le type d'infrastructure qu'on veut, on va plutôt choisir l'un ou l'autre outil, en fait.
Donc, sur chacun de tes cas d'application, selon tes besoins, tu as choisi d'utiliser telle ou telle chose.
Oui, tout à fait.